was just beautiful. Please put your hands again together. That was stunning music. Thank you very much. Next up, we have a great treat. We have two of Ireland's finest actors, and they're going to do a reading for us once we're set up.
It's okay.
So please give a warm welcome for Angela Harding and Brian Murray reading an extract, O'Connell Street, 1913, from Strumpet City, Dublin Book of the Year.
Aloysius Hennessy, replete after a breakfast of fried bread and tea, counted the stairs as he descended light-heartedly from his room to the hallway and emerged from its darkness into warmth and sunlight. The bells of Sunday were sounding over the street. The time was wearing up to midday. At a distance ahead of him, a figure hobbled in the same direction. The gait was unmistakable. Hennessy quickened his pace and caught up without difficulty.
Are you going to Mass? He asked. I am, Rasher said, and dearly damn late at that. Whereabouts? Hennessy said. The Pro-Cathedral, along with the quality. Oh, so am I, said Hennessy. I'll walk along with you. I like a Sunday, Hennessy said, leaning on the railings. Ah, come on, Rashers urged. What's your hurry? I'm bad enough without the addition of a mortal sin. We'll be late for Mass.
They turned into Delir Street and met the first section of the police.
Oh, the Larkin Reception Committee, Rasher said. Do you think he'll turn up?
As Hennessy asked, the vista of the street opened to them. Rashers stood still. Sections of police were placed at intervals up its entire length, from the bridge to beyond Nelson's Pillar. They'd never seen so many policemen before.
If he comes down in a balloon, Rasher said. I'll tell you this, though, when he had seen the full strength of the preparations, if he does turn up, there'll be holy slaughter.
After Mass, Hennessy wanted him to walk through Sackville Street again.
Not for a knighthood from the king himself, Rasher said. I'd like to see if Larkin turns up, said Hennessy. You've the full use of both your limbs, but poor old Rashers would be a sitting target for any murderous rousing of a peeler. Ah, come on, Hennessy urged. No, Rashers is home be the back lanes.
They parted. Hennessy adjusted the bowler and made his way back to Sackville Street. The crowd had increased. There was a small Larkinite element near the GPO. And near the Imperial Hotel, a stranger said to him,
I don't think he'll turn up, do you? I don't see how he can, Hennessy said. What time is it? The man produced his watch. We're up to 1:30. Oh, have a look at his nibs, the man said. Hennessy looked.
A stooped, frock-coated old man with a beard and a tall silk hat was being held from a cab by a coachman and a young lady. He leaned on her arm and paused to look about the street. They watched as the old man, still leaning heavily on the arm of the girl, was led into the hotel. People detached themselves from the crowd on the far side of the street and began to move towards them.
Hennessy looked behind him. The figure of the frock-coated old man stood on the balcony above the street. Hennessy saw him straighten up and pull the beard aside. He flung out his arms in a gesture that by now was unmistakable. It's Larkin! The man behind Hennessy shouted. The crowd roared its recognition and surged forward. Larkin on the balcony shouted in triumph. I promised you I'd speak to you in this street today. I've kept that promise. I'll leave here only when they arrest me.
Hennessy gazed upwards, thunderstruck. But in a moment, the police had reached the balcony and Larkin was seized. The crowd began to heckle.
Uh-oh, trouble, the man with Hennessy said. Let's get out. But the pressure of the crowd tightened suddenly and lifted Hennessy off his feet. Over their heads he saw the first wave of police, their batons drawn, coming at the double towards the crowd. His heart jumped with horror. He thought of his bowler, a belt of a baton would ruin it forever. His ribs were caving in. Every breath became an agonizing struggle. He was almost unconscious when the impact of the baton charge turned the crowd and it began to break up. Hennessy dropped to the ground. He lay there for some moments gasping. He felt his head. The bowler was gone. He searched about frantically on his hands and knees and found it again. He began to move down the street. There was no escape that way. Furious battles were being fought around the O'Connell Monument and across the length of the bridge. The victims of the first charge lay everywhere about him. He backed away from one policeman, only to bump into another. The second struck him a blow on the shoulder, which paralyzed the right side of his body. Hennessy went down like a log and lay still. The ambulance men brought him round. They lifted him up and found the bowler hat under him. It was dusty, but intact.
The news was bad that night. 2 workers had been killed. Hundreds were hurt. The hospitals were thronged all day, and at night the gas lamps were extinguished and the side streets were loud with pitched battles.
Hennessy was able to limp his way home around 5 in the evening. His shoulder was dislocated, but the bowler still fitted.
Thank you, Brian.